You care. Too much. About what they think, what they say, how they see you. And it's exhausting, isn't it? You replay conversations in your head. You read between the lines. You overthink silence. You shrink yourself trying not to upset anyone and lose yourself in the process. The Stoic sees this for what it is, emotional slavery. Because when your peace depends on others, you've already surrendered. You're not living. You're managing impressions. So let's change that. This isn't about becoming cold. It's about becoming clear. Caring is not the problem. Caring without boundaries is. And that's where the Stoic begins. Not with reaction, but with redirection. You've been giving too much to what doesn't give back. This is your moment to reset, to take back the energy you've been bleeding in silence, not with anger, but with calm refusal. The first reset is simple. Not everything deserves your attention. The Stoic filters input. He understands that constant caring is constant noise, and noise drowns clarity. So he builds mental walls, not to push people out, but to protect his focus. When you care about every opinion, you spread your mind too thin. You get pulled in every direction. You chase every reaction. But the Stoic? He decides what matters and lets the rest pass like weather. Think about it. When was the last time someone's opinion changed your life for the better? If you can't remember, maybe it didn't matter. People are allowed to judge. You're allowed not to care. That's not arrogance. It's balance. Because the mind isn't built to be on call to every emotion. Peace isn't found in saying yes to everything. It's found in saying no to what drains you. The second reset? Detach your identity from their approval. When you care too much, you start editing yourself. You soften your voice. You second-guess your choices. You lose the sharp edge of who you really are, all to make others comfortable. But the Stoic knows, if you need to be liked to feel valid, your worth is rented, not owned. And what's rented can be taken. The moment you make peace dependent on praise, you give others the power to break you with silence. That's not connection. That's dependence. Real strength doesn't ask, do they like me? It asks, am I living in alignment with my values? That shift changes everything. Because then, even rejection becomes information, not devastation. The world becomes a mirror, not a master. You stop performing. You start living. And ironically, that's when respect comes, when you no longer need it. The third reset is radical, but necessary. Let go of the outcome. Most people care too much because they're attached to how things should go, how people should respond, how conversations should unfold. But the Stoic trains his mind to focus only on what's in his control, his words, his choices, his energy. He understands that outcome is external, effort is internal, and peace lives where those two are separated. When you release the obsession with how it should be, you reclaim power over how you'll show up. You stop chasing results and start embodying standards. You're no longer swayed by reactions. You're anchored by values. That's what makes you calm in the storm. Not indifference, but direction. Let others interpret you, misunderstand you, dismiss you. Your job isn't to manage their perception. It's to master your presence. That's where peace begins, and it's where your influence grows. The fourth reset is simple, but brutal. Ask yourself, why do you care so much? Not the surface answer, the real one. Is it fear of rejection, fear of being misunderstood, fear of being alone? Because the Stoic doesn't treat symptoms, he confronts roots. Caring too much is often a mask for unresolved wounds. You want everyone to like you because deep down, you haven't decided to like yourself. You fear being judged because you still judge yourself. So you build a life around pleasing others and call it kindness. But it's not kindness if it costs your clarity. The Stoic heals through honesty. He knows that peace isn't the absence of criticism, it's the presence of alignment. And that alignment only comes when your self-worth is no longer up for negotiation, when your presence is no longer an apology, when your value is no longer outsourced. You were never meant to carry everyone's opinions. You were meant to carry your purpose. The Stoic doesn't shut out the world, but he doesn't bend to it either. He listens, but filters, cares, but with boundaries. He understands that peace isn't given. It's built, one choice at a time, one standard at a time. And every time he chooses self-respect over approval, he becomes lighter, clearer, stronger. So here's your reset. Stop managing perception. Start mastering presence. Stop begging to be understood. Start living in a way that needs no explanation. When you stop caring so much about what they think, you finally have space to hear what you think. And that voice, that quiet, steady voice inside you, it's been waiting to lead. Ask yourself, who are you when no one's watching? And are you proud of that man? If this reminded you of who you were before the noise, subscribe now. Not for hype, but for clarity, for stillness, for the daily discipline to stay true in a world that keeps pulling you off course.